Searching for your ancestor's death date is one of the first things that we do as genealogy researchers. But why is finding that date of death for an ancestor so hard at times? And are you creating your own genealogy brick walls in the process? Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Lisa, and if you are brand new here, this channel focuses on helping you find your ancestors, grow your family tree, and not get overwhelmed in the process. So if it sounds like your cup of tea, you're in the right place. Let's talk about your ancestor's date of death. It's a vital piece of information we use in our genealogy research, but, well, can be problematic at times to find. But why is that? One of the reasons you may be finding it difficult to find your ancestor's date of death or records of his death is because he didn't die where you expected. You may be expecting that that particular ancestor died in a certain county, likely the county where they lived, but not always. When you are looking for that date of death or the death record for your ancestor and you're not finding it where you would expect, check the neighboring counties. And if your ancestor lived on a state line, check that other state too, that neighboring state. It is possible they went to a family's home and that's where the death actually occurred. Be sure and check the neighboring states as well. It is possible if your ancestor had a chronic health issue, they may have gone somewhere to be treated, such as a TB sanatorium. Consider this, if you're researching ancestors or a female ancestor who was of childbearing years, she may have gone to stay with family in the later stages of her pregnancy and to give birth. So in that case, you might want to check neighboring counties and states especially. Now, another reason that you may not be finding an ancestor's date of death easily or a record that contains that information is because you're actually researching and searching for a record that maybe doesn't exist. It may have never existed or even been created. One of the things that I hear from readers and viewers frequently is that they are struggling to find their ancestor's death certificate. Death certificates are an incredibly valuable pieces of information for us as genealogy researchers. They contain tons of information that we can use to pursue that particular ancestor as well as other family members. But death certificates are a relatively new record when it comes to genealogy research. Many states did not even record state death records or issue state death certificates until the 1900s. So for an example, an ancestor dying in North Carolina in 1901 would not actually have a death certificate issued because North Carolina did not start issuing death certificates until 1913. So for that ancestor dying in 1901, there's no reason to even look because it just simply wasn't created. You're going to need to look at alternate sources. Now, another reason that you may be struggling to find that ancestor's date of death or death record is because you are overlooking the mortality schedules that were taken along with the population censuses of 1850 to 1880. The mortality schedules record individuals who had died within the 12 months preceding the census date for that year. You will not find the specific day or of the month that an individual passed away, but you will likely find the month listed, and of course you can determine the date or the year based on the census date for that schedule. You'll also find things like certainly the ancestors or the decedent's cause of death, as well as their age. And of course, from that age, you can infer a birth date. So when you are researching your ancestors, you definitely do not want to overlook using those mortality schedules. Cemetery research is actually an important part of trying to find our ancestors' dates of birth and dates of death, obviously. But one of the mistakes that you could be making and is limiting your ability to determine a date of death is that you are not looking at the actual tombstone or at least a really good photograph of the tombstone. Now, depending on that tombstone's condition, the dates or any of the writing on it can be difficult to read. But when this happens, you actually have options. Take a photograph of that tombstone, and you want the best one that you could potentially get. Then use a photo editing software to edit that photograph, and you can change things with the lighting and the shadows and the contrast, and oftentimes edit it enough that you're able to make out the dates and any writing that is on that tombstone, including that death date. Now, in case you're wondering, I actually used the VividPix Restore photo editing software for this. I'll put a link to it down in the description below and you can check it out for yourself. Another reason you might be missing that ancestor's date of death is because, well, you are spelling your ancestor's name wrong. Or right. Really just depends. The spelling of your ancestor's name can be a cause for not finding any type of record for your ancestor and should not be overlooked in the search for death records. As you research genealogy and you come across spelling variations for your ancestors' names, be sure and keep a running list somewhere of that. That way, when you are in the records, whether it's you're researching for that death record or really any other record, you have alternate names that you can plug into the search engines to hopefully be able to find your ancestor. And in this case, we're looking for a death record of some sort. So keep those spelling variations because, to be honest, spelling variations occurred on tombstones too. And so you want to keep those spelling variations close at hand, and then you'll be able to use them and know that you're checking for as many as possible those various names. Additionally, you want to try using a wildcard search in the databases. A wildcard search is where you substitute an asterisk in place of letters or a part of the name that maybe you're unsure about or that is frequently spelled a variety of ways. This tells the search engines that you're not sure exactly the spelling of the name, and then the search engines will return back what they anticipate might be matches. So your results will be broader, you will have more to go through, but the advantage is sometimes you will see your ancestor whose name has been transcribed in perhaps a variation you're not familiar with and had not seen previously. I have a blog post on performing wildcard searches over on the website, and I will link that in the description below. If you're interested in learning more about researching your ancestor's date of death or for death records, be sure and watch the videos that are up on your screen now.